All right, let's talk about one of the most common and frankly most annoying problems in any virtual desktop world, that dreaded failed connection error. Turns out there's a really clever Omnissa Horizon feature called Host Redirection that's built to solve exactly this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're a Horizon admin, you've seen this message more times than you can count. You know, you've done everything right, you've built this amazing, resilient environment, and you still get those frustrating tickets, the ones that just say, can't connect. So if you've ever pulled your hair out over this, you're gonna wanna see this.
So, to really get the solution, first we have to nail down the problem. Let's call it the connection headache. And believe it or not, it often comes from a tiny hidden flaw in the way we usually do load balancing for Horizon.
And here it is. The whole issue boils down to something called sticky sessions and what happens when they fail. So think about your load balancer like a receptionist for all your UAGs, your unified access gateways. The first time a user calls in, the receptionist picks an available UAG and connects them. A sticky session is just a little note the receptionist makes saying, hey, next time this user calls, send them back to that same UAG. But, what if that sticky note falls off? What if the user gets sent to a different UAG on their next attempt? Well, that new UAG has no idea who they are, and the connection just fails. And when that happens, chaos. I mean, you've got misrouted connections, which lead to failed logins, and suddenly you've got frustrated users who can't do their work, and you, the admin, have to drop everything to go digging through logs. It's just a total productivity black hole for absolutely everyone. So what if we could make that whole process a lot smarter? What if we didn't have to rely on that flimsy sticky note? Well, that is exactly what Horizon Host Redirection is designed to do. Let's check out how it makes this whole thing way more reliable. To put it really simply, Host Redirection is a feature that, after that very first handshake, tells the user's Horizon client, hey, from now on, talk directly to me at this specific address. It basically gives the client a direct phone number, taking the receptionist, the load balancer, out of the loop for the rest of the conversation. And this right here, this is the whole point. The goal is to make your life easier by simplifying load balancing. You're no longer relying on those fragile, sticky sessions, which means you're getting rid of a huge, common point of failure. Okay, so that's the what. But how does it actually pull this off? Well, the magic behind the curtain is a standard piece of web tech you probably already know, the HTTP 307 redirect. It all happens in 3 super quick steps. First, the user's initial connection goes to the load balancer, just like it always does. Second, and this is the brilliant part, the UAG that gets that request immediately sends a message back to the client. It says, okay, great to meet you. Now, for everything else, connect to me directly at this specific address. That's the 307 redirect. And third, the client says, got it, and makes a brand new connection directly to that UAG, completely bypassing the load balancer from then on. And the result of that little exchange? A clean, stable, direct line for the entire user session. No more receptionists, no more lost sticky notes. Your user is guaranteed to land in the right place every single time. Okay, so the tech is cool, I get it, but why should you actually care? Why does this matter in the real world? Let's talk about the actual, tangible benefits this brings to your environment. The payoffs here are pretty big. Right off the bat, you get true session affinity, which means way fewer of those random connection errors. This is a lifesaver, especially if you have a more complex setup with multiple VIPs. But maybe the best part? It lets you simplify your load balancer config. You can just get rid of those complicated, brittle persistence rules. And here's the good news. Turning this on is not some massive weekend-long project. It's literally just a setting you can configure right in the Horizon console, or by setting what's called the SNID, the server name ID, on your UAGs. It's all managed in the tools you already use every day. Now, there is one little technical detail to keep in your back pocket, and it's an easy number to remember, 80. Because that first redirect is happening over standard HTTP, you might need to have TCP port 80 open for that initial handshake. It's a small detail, but a really crucial one to get right. All right, one last thing before we wrap up. We need to clear up some potential confusion, because the word redirection gets thrown around a lot in the Horizon world, and it's super important to know that not all redirection features do the same thing. This is probably the number one mix-up I see. So on the left, you have host redirection, what we've been talking about. Its job is to handle the entire client connection at the infrastructure level. On the right, you have URL content redirection. That's a totally different beast. That feature is all about controlling what happens when a user clicks a link inside their virtual desktop.
So let me just say it plainly. Host redirection is for the plumbing. It's about building the pipe from the user to the server. URL content redirection is about managing the water flowing through that pipe once it's already built. They solve two completely different problems. And that really brings us to the final question you should be asking yourself. Now that you know there's a more direct, more robust, and honestly a simpler way to guarantee that connection stays alive, is it maybe time to rethink how much you rely on those old load balancer sticky sessions? Because host redirection is a really compelling alternative.